good morning, good afternoon, ciao, whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Access Show. On the Digital Access Show, we look at communication. And really, when we're looking at communication, we're talking about usability and we're talking about accessibility. Now, the two together give good communication. One of the areas of communication that is a real problem, particularly for two groups, the people on the autistic spectrum and people like myself who have severe vision impairments, is going to a theatre, watching TV shows, going to festivals, concerts. Music concerts, not too bad. We hear it, but we don't know what's going on stage. Or if you're a person on the autistic spectrum, you have trouble, anyone having trouble reading body language or facial expression, they might not be able to read and understand what they're trying to convey using body language and facial expression. And of course, movement, body language, facial expression are a form of communication. However, there is a solution. And today I want to introduce you to Shari Irwin from Vantage Point. And Shari Irwin's going to tell us about the solution. So welcome, Shari, and thank you for being on here.
Thank you, Narelle. It's an absolute pleasure to be invited.
Oh, I love having you around. Shari, tell us about yourself. Tell us what you do.
Sure. So, yes, I am what they call an audio describer. I will admit that when I first heard the term audio describer, I had never encountered it before. So there's no shame in going, what is that? I've never heard of it, because there was a point where that was me as well. Essentially, an audio describer is a person who literally describes using audio, so using my voice and talking, anything that a person with low vision or blindness isn't able to perceive with their vision. So I am using audio to describe anything. It could be a play, it could be the costumes, it could be the scenery, it could be the choreography of a dance, it could be a painting, it could be a garden, it could be hiking up a mountain. It could be anything that you might need a little bit more information because your visual system doesn't give you the full picture, so to speak. And so my job is to fill in that picture for you so that the experience is as rich as possible for you. And of course, people look for different things and want different things out of the different experiences they have. A bird lover is going to be interested in the birds at the lake, but someone else will be interested in the trees. So of course it can be, unless you're working directly, one-on-one with a particular client, you do have to generalize a little bit, but essentially that's what an audio describer does. And I guess my particular specialty is live audio description. So people might be familiar with an audio description track that they might find on a DVD or on Netflix or in films. They can actually add an audio description track, which is a little bit like the director's commentary. That's the closest sort of analogy I can give, where there's a commentary over the top of the movie or the show, where someone's describing a red car pulls up in front of the house, a blonde woman climbs out of the car and walks up the steps, those sorts of things. So it's like a director's commentary, but it's describing the details of the action in the moment. And so those audio description tracks are available on lots of TV shows and movies and so on. But for live performance, that's kind of my specialty. And I guess I came to that because my background is as a theatre maker and a theatre producer. So I have qualifications and experience in theatre making and working for theatre companies in Brisbane. So I guess it was a beautiful marriage of my love and my expertise and knowledge about how you make a live performance and the elements that are important to convey and why. And with, I guess, my interest in wanting to kind of give back to a community that has been marginalized. And I have to say, when I first came to audio describing, it was actually through my role as a theatre producer. An email popped across my inbox that said, Vision Australia are looking for more audio description volunteers. And I thought, what the heck is audio description? I've never heard of it. This was back in 2012. So I did my research and I auditioned and I joined that volunteer team that still volunteer in Brisbane today. Across the nation, actually, there's a small, very dedicated team of volunteer audio describers through Vision Australia. And that's sort of where I cut my teeth and yeah, developed a style of audio description. So yes, I was a volunteer for them for 10 years. And yeah, and I couldn't believe, as someone who loves theatre, who
Yep.
kind of studied it and made it, and it's one of a great passion for me. I was quite humbled and fairly ashamed of myself that I had never considered that if I were to lose my vision at some point, that suddenly a thing that was so central to my life and social life and well-being could become inaccessible to me. I'd never considered that. And soon
Yeah.
as I realized that, you know, absence in my thinking, I was really humbled and kind of ashamed of myself and thought, oh my gosh, if I can do this, then I want to be able to help share a love of theatre and live performance with other people who want to either reclaim that pastime that they feel they haven't been able to enjoy, or to introduce it to people who've never had access to it in the first place. So that felt really, really great to be able to kind of help open up that accessibility.
So, Shari, one of the things, obviously, I've attended the performances where you work. I've heard you do theatre and I've heard you do concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that really struck me was the difference between doing audio description in a play
Mm-hmm.
to audio description in a concert, because obviously in a play there are spaces. And is that where you actually are meant to fill in the
What do
words?
you mean by spaces, Narelle?
Spaces where there might be no sound,
Oh, yeah,
where
like no one speaking or
yeah, no one's speaking. I should have said,
yeah,
spaces and
yeah.
sound. And so when I've got heard you do a play, I'll be sitting and I wear, for those that don't know, I actually wear headphones that are tuned into a channel, bit like a CB channel, is it? Or
Yeah, that's right.
what
So
is
if
it?
people are, yeah, so if people were wanting to access an audio description, and you don't have to be
Mhm.
blind or low vision to do this, anyone can do this,
Yeah,
as long as you've turned up to the right show at the right time. It doesn't
yeah.
cost any extra generally. But yes,
Mhm.
you get given a headset, like a little bit like a walkie-talkie, but it's only one
Okay.
way. So you can only hear my voice. You can't talk back at me. But yes, it's a little walkie-talkie
Yeah.
essentially, and a set of earphones that you pop over your head. And as the show is going, as the show starts, you would hear my voice in your ear, talking to you about what's happening on stage, who's coming, who's going. So it's quite simple in that regard, but it's
Yeah.
happening in live time. So the show that you're watching is the same show that I'm watching. So that if an actor trips over and falls over a couch or something, that
Yeah.
would be described. If I don't know, if they ad lib and they go off script or they do something funny, that will be described live. And I think that's the joy of having it in a live
Wow.
description. There is often some talk in the industry about, well, why can't just the audio track be recorded and people just
Yeah.
press play when the play starts? But everyone who's been to live theatre knows that some of the thrill is that it's going to be a little bit different every
Yeah.
time. And so there's nothing worse than, having, just say you're at a concert or a comedy show
Mm.
or something, and someone cracks a joke, at a different time, and you're left behind. You're not laughing
Yeah.
when everyone else is. And that's
Yeah.
particularly the case for visual comedy, right? There might be
Yeah.
a sight gag, as they call
Yes.
it, that if that happens out of sync, then suddenly you're the one laughing alone in the audience, or not laughing and wondering, well, hang on, when did I miss that? So that's why I feel it's important for live performance to have live audio description, because that's
Well,
the
yeah.
truth of the experience.
Well,
Yeah.
that answered one of my questions because I'm curious about why people didn't pre-record it.
Yeah,
So
look,
that does answer it.
some things can be pre-recorded. I know that
Yeah.
Bangarra Dance, the Indigenous contemporary dance
Yes.
group, who tour all across Australia, they do lots of
Mhm.
touring, and they do have a recorded audio description track, but that makes a little bit more sense because dance is timed with the music. So
Yes.
unless there's a real catastrophe, generally the dancers don't ad lib. They do their choreography in time with the music and all those elements tie together. But
Yeah.
getting back to your question, Narelle, about a play and filling that space, filling those
Yeah.
moments of silence, yes, actors certainly in text-based plays are given a lot more autonomy to kind of
Mm.
feel the moment between their fellow actor, and they have to let that emotion rise with authenticity.
Yeah.
So that's where there are spaces and pauses, and where an audio describer has to be very sensitive to those things.
Yeah.
I do find I love audio describing plays, perhaps because of my background in
Yeah.
theatre, but I think where the craft of audio description is needed is it's almost a dramaturgical choice. If there
Mhm.
is silence on stage because a character is grieving,
Yeah.
they're sitting in a pile, head in hands, you know, and you're just seeing their shoulders go up and down as they're sobbing quietly. Like that is something I would have to describe so people know
Mhm.
what's happening on stage. But I wouldn't use all that space to keep, you know, to fill all that silence with my voice talking about it. I'd try to do it as succinctly as possible so
Yes.
that that silence, that's a choice that the director and the actors have made to go, when you're expressing grief, sometimes it feels long and empty and silent. And so
Yeah.
if that's an important part of the storytelling or the emotional journey for the audience to go on, then it's not going to be helpful to have your audio describer going, they're doing this, then they're doing this, and then they're sobbing some more, and then they're grabbing a tissue, and then they're wiping their nose. Like that, you know, you don't want this sort of racetrack commentary happening in your
Yeah.
ears when
Yeah.
the moment on stage is incredibly still, incredibly tender, and quiet. It means the audio describer has to respect that and try to be very sparing and respectful while still capturing the essence of the quality of that moment.
Yeah.
So those are the
Yes.
things when describing plays I try to be very mindful of, is when I can talk and not talk over the top of an actor's dialogue.
Yeah.
But also if there is a silence on stage, to think, create artistically why that silence is there, and to respect the artistic choice for that and not, you know, yabber over the top of it.
So the difference between that and a concert, because I remember I went and saw it was the Little Red Shoe Company, Theatre Company, no, only
Little
five,
Red Company, yep.
Little Red Company, and they did this fantastic performance last year at South Bank, and you were doing the audio description
Oh
of it.
yes, at the
And I
Suncorp
just remember,
Piazza. Yeah,
yes, and I just
that would
remember
have been
thinking,
hmm.
how did you get time to breathe?
Yeah, they have very vibrant, busy shows.
Yeah, yeah. Because that,
Oh,
you
look,
know,
it's a personal choice. I know some people who, you know, actually take, because the headset's often covering two
mm,
ears, they sort of take one ear off so that, or they'll put a headphone on and off. They'll take it on and off as the
yeah,
show goes. Because again, some people just want to sit back and relax and listen to the music.
yeah,
Other people want to know what costumes are, what, you know, what
yeah,
colors they are, you know, who's on stage now, where are they moving to?
yeah,
So yeah, it's often a personal choice.
yeah.
But yes,
And
a concert does allow more room to talk
yeah,
because you can still get, like, if the song is upbeat,
yeah,
you know, it stays in your mind because music has that way of carrying forward. So it's a
yeah,
little bit easier to keep talking through it without ruining the atmosphere of the song.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or, you know,
And
for example, a chorus, fortunately, songs have a chorus.
yeah,
So I try to put my audio description inside the chorus. Once the chorus has been heard once or twice,
yeah.
I throw in some description in the third chorus because people know the words by now. So they're not going to be like,
Okay.
oh, what's that? What are they singing about? Oh, all you need is love. Oh, yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
Yep, like you
yeah,
can talk about that.
exactly.
Yeah,
And the thing with that concert, and I've been to a couple now, is they also have the interpreters as well, which
yeah,
made for a fantastic experience because,
yeah.
well, for me, I couldn't see them so, but I just know they were there. And the friend that was with me was going, holy smokes, there's Auslan interpreters. And she was just fascinated because,
Yeah.
just, and then she took my headphones at one stage because she wanted to hear what you were saying and she wanted to watch the Auslan. She wasn't worried about the show. She was just, it was, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah, yes. No, the Little Red Company are fantastic in terms of their accessibility inclusion
Yeah,
options. They have almost everything they do. Auslan described, sorry, Auslan interpreted and audio
yeah.
described. And yeah, it is fantastic. Like it's beautiful to watch that language. It's a beautiful language to watch.
Mm.
Yeah, I enjoy it. And often if I'm audio describing an Auslan interpreted show, I'll tell people there's an Auslan interpreter on
Yeah.
the right side of the stage and they're doing this sort of movement. Um, Sometimes if there's time to kind of describe their movements. There is a fantastic festival that happens in Brisbane every
Mhm.
second year called the Undercover Artist Festival.
Yeah.
And it's a weekend long festival that showcases the work of professional and community or emerging artists who
Mhm.
have a disability of all kinds and all kinds of art. So visual art, singing,
Yep.
dancing, music, everything. And what I've loved about that festival, beyond just the art in it, is great, is that because it's really embracing disabled communities, or communities of disability rather,
Mm.
there's almost like a hub of service providers that
Yeah.
come together. So it's beautiful to have a little room where I'll be sitting next to some closed caption typists.
Yes.
I'll also, have an Auslan interpreter on one of their breaks sitting in the same green room. So
Yep.
all these people come together whose sole job it is to help people with disabilities access art. And often we're quite separated. So even though we'll be working on the one show, the Auslan people are down on the stage and I'm
Yep.
up the back in a bio box somewhere. So we don't often get to work or
Yeah.
really chat to one another. But this festival means that we're all there together, and we actually get to learn about each other's work. And it's a really lovely opportunity to come together around one specific project. But yeah, it's terrific.
Why do you think theatre started bringing audio description in? I don't know how long it's been going. Obviously, I only found you 2 or 3 years ago, and I've just been, obviously, I'm a fan because I love going to plays, I love concerts. Why do you think a decision was made to bring audio description in?
I really think it's got to do with the rise of advocacy inside the disability community. I think
Mhm.
really there is this wonderful wave in Australia that probably feels frustrated that the waves arrived too, is not fast
Mm.
enough. But
Yeah.
certainly, like you, Narelle, I've felt the tide rise in the last 3 years,
Mm.
maybe a bit longer, building over the last 4 years, where artists who have a disability are much more vocal and proactive now, or seem to be, about demanding their human right to
Yeah.
access art and literature and all those things.
Yeah.
So there's, I think, been a generation that are now equipped with understanding what they can ask for, what they deserve. I think we also have more platforms too. Just technology has allowed different people with different disabilities to jump on their phone, film their life, and go, "Hey, this is a problem for me," or "Hey, this isn't good enough." And they have a platform to be able to kind of disseminate that information and praise people, businesses, experiences that have allowed them to have a great time, and then to kind of critique the ones that haven't. So there's more
Mm.
accountability, I think, in all sectors. But I think in the arts too, yeah, there's just been an overall, I feel like, recognition that there's no excuse anymore. You can't pretend that that community doesn't exist. That
Mhm.
community is now getting more vocal, that is more present, and that accessibility isn't. I think there used to be an assumption that if your venue was accessible for a wheelchair, then you were doing your best. You
Yeah.
tick the box of being
Yes.
accessible. And they've come to realize that there are so many more services that are needed to be truly accessible. I was commenting to someone today, actually, that I actually suspect, this is a personal theory, I don't know if this is
Mhm.
true, but I suspect that because of the COVID pandemic and the fact that the community were getting so many frequent updates from, the health
Yep.
department and politicians about these stats and figures and our safety, and all of those news reports almost always had an Auslan interpreter
Yes.
beside that person, which was
Yes.
fantastic. And I think people that seeing that made people go, "Oh yeah, that's right.
Mm.
Lots of people with different barriers to information have a right, like a requirement to know this stuff." And so I think there was gradually this collective awakening of going, "Oh yeah, there are deaf people who need to know this. There are
Yes.
blind people who need to know this."
Yeah.
And so I feel like in some ways, certainly Auslan has become more recognized as another service of accessibility. And I guess audio description is not as well known because, again, we're sort of something you have to hear about. You can't just see
Yeah.
us.
That's
Um,
it.
yeah. So, but I think because of that recognition, that again, that tide has risen, has lifted all boats, and I think there's been more of an understanding and interest in audio description because people are now thinking about specific communities of
Mm.
people with different disabilities. It's not just about wheelchair access anymore. It's like, oh yes, there's folks who are deaf or hard of hearing. There are folks who have low vision. There are folks with neurodivergence that need, a different set of circumstances to be able to enjoy a live performance. So I just think the awareness is building,
Yeah.
and there's now a commitment to it where there's actually some budget lines put
Yeah.
to production budgets to go, great, we'll actually keep some money aside and pay for these services. which is great. But it does sometimes boil down to money. I know there's a lot of goodwill, but it's an expensive thing making theatre, and adding one more cost to it can blow the budget. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
know for me, last year I was really, really excited. I love Carols by Candlelight.
Mm.
And the Little Red company putting on the Brisbane Carols by Candlelight and doing
Yes.
an audio described version the night before for people with disability, as it was the dress rehearsal, and they audio described the dress rehearsal. And I was so excited because it made it accessible. Whereas now I sit and I listen to it and I think, oh, just not quite the same
Yeah.
as
I
when I
mean,
could see. And,
yeah.
that's something. I mean, I'm hoping that they do it again this year because I'm going to be front row seat.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, I
Yeah,
think they'll announce something pretty soon. But
yeah,
yeah, again, that's produced by Little Red, so they have a really great commitment to
they do.
accessibility
They,
services. They
yeah,
had a great not just Auslan and audio description,
no,
but they had sort of chill out zones for folks who
yeah,
just get a little bit overstimulated by all the
yeah,
crowds and the noise, and you can
that's
still
it.
watch the
And that's it. They had
yeah,
seating areas
yep,
specifically for people with wheelchairs close to the
yeah,
stage where they
yeah,
could see, where they could participate. And yeah,
yeah.
it's such a wonderful thing.
They have a great disability access consultant named Madeline Little, and
Yeah.
she sort of heads up a kind of consultation committee with them to make sure that as many people as possible can access something that everyone loves, like Christmas carols.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
simple
great.
thing. Yeah, it's a simple thing. But I think one of the things that people forget as well is that a play gives a message. And if you're
Mm,
not able to take in the message visually, you're
mm.
going to miss out. You
Yeah,
really do. And having
yeah,
someone provide the audio description means we get the same accesses.
exactly.
Shari, what are a couple of takeaways that you can give people about audio description? What would you like people to know?
Oh, I'd like people to know that it is for anyone to enjoy.
Mhm.
And understandably, different communities can be quite guarded about who they let in and out of kind of their safe spaces, which is completely understandable.
Mm.
Um, but certainly, I've never encountered in this community of blind and low vision people a sort of a gatekeeping of
Mm.
services. I feel everyone's very wanting to share information and make the community to advocate for the
Yeah.
community as much as possible. So I guess the first thing I'd want to say is audio description is anyone can access it. It doesn't cost
Yeah.
any extra. So if you're curious, um, and you're at a show and it being audio described that
Mhm.
at that time, just ask for a headset and you can have a
Yeah.
listen and find out what it's like. Um, there's never a cost to the person. Like you might have to pay for your ticket to the show, but you wouldn't have to pay extra to do the audio
Mm.
description. No one is going to look you up and down or expect some sort
Yeah.
of ID card or proof. They
Yep.
just want you to experience it. It's just another service.
Mhm.
Um, and so I really encourage people to listen to that, because if they want to be an ally to the blind and low vision community, then it gives you a real sense of the kinds of extra detail that folks in that community rely on to get literally the full picture
Yeah.
of any experience. And so if you understand that, then you can be a great ally in how to help those friends or family or community members be safe, or get a little bit something extra out of a walk in the park. We take some sighted community take so much for granted, the pleasure or interest that a vista or a little detail that you notice on a
Yeah.
walk, at the shops can give you.
Yep.
And it's that sort of beautiful, those little details that can really
Make the
lighten
difference.
someone's day, or
Yeah.
add that texture to the
Yeah.
world. Um,
And I think you've got it right. It is texture. You reminded me. I took my mum to see 9 to 5,
oh, the Dolly
and because
Parton
oh
show.
yeah, yeah, and because it was so bright, I
Yeah.
couldn't. I had to have blindfolds on,
Oh,
and because I'm
no.
very light sensitive,
Mm.
I slept through it.
Oh,
There
it's a
was
comfy.
no.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it was a very expensive sleep. It's what I laugh and say. And
Yep.
I sort of listened to start and thought, oh, this is really good. And it's like, yeah, I'm a bit tired. No, I went to sleep
Mm.
because I didn't have that. I don't have that visual.
The richness was lost. Yeah.
Yeah, the richness
Yeah.
was gone. So, Shari, for me, I love hearing your when you're working. Shari, where are you on next? When can people go and listen to your work?
Gosh, that's a good point. I'm
Mm.
definitely next at, well, probably a Brisbane festival thing. Well, Vantage Point is two people at the moment, myself and
Mhm.
Todd McDonald,
Yep.
who some of your listeners may have already encountered. Um, but yeah, we're doing a lot in Brisbane Festival. So there's Volcano, Contemporary
Yep.
Theatre and Dance, the Jean-Paul Gaultier Fashion Freak Show. We're doing the No Bang Theory, which is a great comedy cabaret by an artist who we featured at the Undercover Artist Festival. He's a gentleman that identifies as autistic.
Mhm.
Um, what else? Gosh, I'm looking at I'm doing Dear Brother at Queen's Anne Theatre. There's a Torres Strait Island dance work called Gur Ira Op, featuring Genoa Giller,
Mhm.
who's a beautiful artist from the Torres Strait, very funny, very engaging, amazing
Yep.
mover.
Mhm.
There's so much to so that
There's
if you
so
if
much.
you've got grandkids or kids and you want to do something with a family,
Yep.
the Little Red Company and who you were talking about before, who do often music
Yep.
concerts, they are co-producing with La Boite Theatre Company to do a show called Fancy Long Legs, which is for all ages, kids,
Oh,
grown-ups, grandmas,
yep.
granddads, whatever.
Yep.
And that's another fully accessible show. So there's going to be Auslan audio description,
Fantastic.
sort of breakout spaces, and that's based off a
Mm.
kid's book. So
Fantastic.
lots going on in
Lots
September.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to find out any of those, obviously you hit Ticketek or you get onto the Little Red Company's website.
Yeah. The Brisbane
Um,
Festival website as well. So
guys,
Brisbane
yeah, that's
Festival
another one.
will
And
list that stuff.
Shari,
Or
if,
my
if,
my website, which is all the stuff that I'm audio describing, but of
yeah,
course, Vision
that's
Australia
what it's
describes
going
a
to
lot
ask.
of feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, what is your website? How can people
So
contact you?
sure, you just jump onto
Mhm.
vantagepointad.com and that will take you to Vantage Point audio description, and you can learn about me and learn about what shows I'm audio describing next. And drop me a line. You're welcome to kind of write in or give me a call. And I'm always fascinated with feedback. Obviously, as a sighted person, I work with folks who are blind and low vision, and I've worked in show business, but I'm always really hungry for feedback. And the positive, flattering feedback is lovely, but I'm also really hungry for some critical feedback. If you've listened to my audio descriptions, or if there's anything on the website that you're like, oh, this website's not quite easy to read, or all those sorts of things, I'd really rather hear it and fix it or address it. And kind of not know. So
Yeah.
yeah, really encourage
Excellent.
everyone to reach out. I'd love to get to know you.
Yeah, and to be honest, one of the shows I always tell people about for a good, well, to my mind, no, it's only me, for a good example of audio description is go and have a look at ABC iView, Muster Dogs. Turn on your audio description settings on your smart TVs, have a listen, because
Mm.
that's the work Shari does, except she does it in a bit more difficult way. She does it live.
I don't get to have a stop my take and try again if
Exactly.
I get it wrong.
Yeah, that's it. And it's awesome listening to Shari in action. And that's another episode. Thank you, Shari. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Okay, and I think it's episode 33. We're really wrapped. We've had about 460 listens since
Wonderful.
January. So we're hoping
Wonderful.
that that's a good number. We can only keep pushing ahead. And if you know of anyone that you think would love to come on our show and talk about communication, accessibility and usability, which Shari's got all three wrapped up in one, please let us know. You can contact us at reception@dasat.com.au. Please like, subscribe, share. We're found on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the good podcast channels. And we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.